We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
You're listening to Drunk on Broad, Philly Sports Unfiltered! From Broad Street down to the bank, we bleed red, green, black, blue, and gray. Racial classes, game day pride, Philly's hardware, drunk on the ride. The ATL is flying high tonight, six stars lights up, the sky's so bright. Flyers crash like thunder on the ice. Philly swinging, everything's nice. Union chanting, passion loud and raw. City of grit, we break every law. Up, down, drunk on broad. No, we don't sleep. City of champions, running deep. For another round, let's make it loud. Philly forever. We're Broad Street proud. Drunk on Broad. Yeah, we're home. Drunk on Broad.
Oh, Mark, good morning. It's catching up on a little bit of hockey that Mark. I'll be honest, Mark. This is where I'm going to atone for my sins. I never saw this coming. I'm glad to be kind of in that situation where, I know after the trade deadline, we kind of talked a little bit about like where this team could be, and never saw the post-Olympic run coming. We're still here, Mark, on Sunday, May 3rd, and we're talking about a team that's still playing, which is, it's a great position to be in. Not something that I thought would be, in what it's been 6 years since they played postseason hockey. To be in round two now, taking down the series, I think with the Pens gave them a ton of experience playing against a team that has a lot of vets. Listen, Mark, it gave me the opportunity to put on the Philly tuxedo yesterday. I had the Sixers shorts, the Phillies shirt, the Flyers hat. It was it was an epic day for sports yesterday, especially in this city. But talk to me about coming out of this the Penn series before we jump into last night.
Yeah, what a great run for the Flyers and the Penguins series. Really just worked through that game, that game six, right? Like it was a slog at times, and at times they were on their heels. But fantastic performance from Dan Vladar, which we all knew he was capable of all year. He had shown how that he's definitely a starting goaltender in this league, and that was, beyond just being a starting goaltender performance, that was like a star-making performance in that game. And they hang on, they hang on and find a way with the really great play too, in a game where it looked like guys were struggling to make plays with the puck.
For sure.
Really great effort. Face-off, Noah Cates on the face-off. Michkov ends up with the puck out high. And instead of just like rimming that puck all the way around, he holds on to it at the blue line, looks for an option, gives Cam York enough time to kind of like sneak a little bit back a little bit further where there was a little bit of room. Gets that puck to him on his backhand too, which is,
it's crazy.
Yeah. gets the puck to Cam York on the backhand, and he finds the back of the net off the post, and then we get this like awesome celebration, and it'll be memorable for a long time. I think that we'll see that replayed in Flyers lore for a little while. That Cam York celly there.
Mark, when I was texting with one of my brothers, he made the comparison to the Reese Hoskins like the bat spike,
That
and I
spike,
was like,
yeah,
that's pretty appropriate, right? Kind of like both in early round playoff games, but like, both with the both with the equipment toss. But it was pretty that game. It felt like somewhere in like the third period they were kind of like in survival mode, and especially kind of like navigating that high pressure situation where you're looking at it going like it could have gone either way. And you're talking about a team right in a series where you went up 3-1 and you got up 3-1 pretty convincingly. And I'm looking at this. Good looking out, Mike, for sure. Um, but like you get this opportunity, right? You were just trying to hang on, and they just hung on, and I, Mark, it was reasonable to think that like they could have had 17 goals in that game. I mean, Dan
yeah,
Vladar really like stood on his head, and for him to have a shutout and to put himself in a position where people are going to be talking about that game for that reason for a long time too, because to have not only 42 saves but like to do it in a closeout game, to do it to kind of put them on, do it in a game where you're putting them on to the next round. Man, the videos of him celebrating were incredible because you could just see, because he was the guy as they were kind of navigating right those that loss after that loss in Game 4 where they've got to go back to Pittsburgh, and right now they're kind of navigating that, and he's the guy in the locker room going like we're good. Like we're
yeah,
good. Like he has been the calm and steady presence. I know I heard somebody talking about like in the commercial breaks and the times where they have a little break going over to the bench talking about like he's the one talking everybody down, and really just like asserting himself as that veteran presence. Um, and to think about they have navigated trying to find someone for this position. And you and I have talked about this for the entire season about like looking at, giving this guy the opportunity, this guy that kind of navigated a really not a not a really bumpy path last season. Kind of got to put in, really inopportune positions, playing a lot of back to backs, playing a lot of road games. And I think we are seeing the fruits of that on the back end. That like the things that all those struggles and all those things that he had to kind of navigate,
yeah.
we're seeing the benefits of that now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really just, too, like, really great pro scouting on the Flyers' part to,
Yeah,
you know, a goalie that I think a lot of people were not. The Flyers, I mean, like going back to last summer, I mean, the Flyers felt all along that Vladar could be like a 45 game, 50 game starter in the league, and
for sure.
Briere, I remember Briere saying in his press conference, he was like, "Oh, we think this guy's going to be like a starting goaltender," and nothing had really indicated that at that point, up to that point, but they had faith in it and believed it, and then of course, Vladar paid them back this year tenfold with not only just helping this team get into the postseason for the first time in 6 seasons, but also like really, really important player in that Penguin series, and I think will be a really important player in this series now with Carolina too.
Yeah.
But really great, really great job there by the Flyers and their professional scouting group, and to find a goaltender that could give them what he's given them so far, and the ability to steal a game too. Because even so, I mean, like, not all starters have. I don't think all starting goaltenders. Not all of them can steal games like that.
No.
And you look at the two, like, on the opposite end. I remember on this show last year when we were talking about Flyers goaltending options, and I remember one of the guys I had mentioned was Artur Shilovs, who eventually got traded from Vancouver to the Penguins, and he got into this series, and he's a good young goalie. So.
Yeah, and listen, I know Mike was talking about it in that game 6, going, we're really getting shut out by this guy,
Yeah.
right? But, like, he saved them, like,
Yeah, he did.
bringing him in game 4. For whatever reason, the Flyers just had Skinner's number, and I understand, I understand the idea of, like, you need a momentum switch in some way, right? And you can't swap out massive players. The one place that you can really make that momentum switch from a player perspective is at the goalie position, right? And he came in and really you saw them, you saw them get the win in game 4, right? Then you see them come back and get the impressive win again in game 5, right, to bring it back to Philadelphia. And you really saw them. And it's interesting. You see the momentum start to swing, right? You see that, like, if they had, and that's why I think game 6 was so tense, right? Because they know that in reality, you really don't want to go back to Pittsburgh. You don't want to go back and play that veteran team. Like, the statistics of their playoff experience that they kept putting on the TV was, like, beyond impressive, right? And you're talking about that big 3 of Letang, right, and Crosby and Malkin, and playing 20 years together, and, like, is this their last hurrah, and, like, all that. But, like, I think they really did learn a lot about themselves in that playoff series, and it does, and I think the same thing will happen in this series in Carolina. And they'll learn, I think, in the Carolina series, I think they're going to learn a lot more about what they need moving forward rather than kind of like what's here.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, like, that's really kind of what's going to come out of this Hurricane series. Like, get with game 1 last night. All the things that Carolina does well were on display in that game. Early in that game, the buzzsaw, as you called it, like when we were texting about it, it was just kind of they're the best forechecking team in the NHL. No team in the NHL spends more time in the offensive zone. And
I mean, Mark, for a long period of time, they had one shot.
Yeah, and really, they take, Carolina takes the whole, like, to a different level, right? Like, they take the whole your best defense is a good offense to a completely different level.
My God,
they really like live by that, and then you look at their defense core to a man, and, like, it's actually very talented. Like, it's not even just like, Jacob Slavin is the best, arguably the best first defenseman in the league. A lot of people believe that. We know Shane Gostisbehere from his time with the Flyers. He can put up a ton of points on the back end, and I thought acquiring K'Andre Miller from the Rangers was a really, really nice move for them over the last summer. So they're a really, really good group, and I think too that also, like, we hear a lot about Freddie Anderson in goal, and it's like, he's an older guy now, and he can be good, but the best way to kind of see what he's about is to kind of test him, and they just didn't do that in game 1, and it not to Carolina, to their credit, was was very, very good in that game, so that he didn't have to be, you know, uh, they didn't have to lean on the goaltending. But
No, I mean he was he last night he just did what he needed to do. Right there wasn't there were a handful of sporadic challenges that they presented, but it was so few and far between. Um, and there were a lot of things that they had opportunities to do that they just never capitalized on. Right, they were that half second behind on a pass or on a shot, and Carolina blocks a ton of shots, and they were able to just like the Carolina didn't have any trouble managing the waves. Like the waves didn't come like they did for the Flyers, and it was like an onslaught from the start. Just never, and that's the way that Carolina plays, right? There's no quit. There's no like. I mean, listen, we even saw it in that very last game in the play in the regular season, right? They take their top 6-7 guys out, and you still saw a team that still challenged you, and took you to took you deep into overtime, to be able to know that that's what you have to navigate. That's where I think like this is where they will learn a lot. Um,
yeah,
and and Mike, I agree, right? Like getting back to playing the way that they played in that Pittsburgh series. You know, if any team tries to skate with this team, you're going to lose. You're gonna look silly. And as fast as we've saw Tippett play in that Pittsburgh series, Carolina's got lines of guys that are
yeah,
doing the same thing. Like it's not just one guy; it's every guy. And you saw them, and I think the scheduling mark didn't help them at all. Right, the fact that like the series ends against the Penguins. Right, they have a couple of days, and then they find out late. Essentially, they essentially find out like at midnight on Friday that they're playing at 8 on Saturday, which, if you're playing at home, that's one thing, right? But then you're essentially waking up Friday going, okay, pack a bag and we're on a flight on Friday. Like you're and trying to like get to Carolina and get acclimated and you heard Taka in the post game start to talk about, maybe they weren't as prepared as they could have been. Um, and I really did think that like when the series were ending, I thought it was weird one that they were starting a second round series before a handful of the first round series weren't finished. But to like Sunday seemed like a good opportunity. I know that there's a couple of game sevens, but like there's some other stuff going on the NHL schedule, but like you really had an opportunity, and I think it was just a matter of like the man ESPN needed something to put on Saturday night.
yeah, yeah. Great job, NHL. Great job to start the second round on a Saturday, and we're playing a round one, game seven Sunday. Just the schedule.
That's Mark. That's where I'll give the NBA credit. The
Yeah,
schedules are preset
yeah,
for every round. They have a certain start date. So the one thing they got right.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that wasn't a good look, especially too. Like I mean, the things that the Flyers had said about finding out late that they were even like when game one was going to be. They knew they were playing Carolina, of course, but they didn't
Right.
know when or where. Like, well, they knew where, but like they didn't know when.
Right.
And so that's usually yeah. Like I mean, like they played also like up until last night. I mean, they played game one without knowing the rest of the schedule either. Like
Also really weird.
yeah, like so game one is scheduled, but we don't even know game two. Like when game two was scheduled until last night. So just a weird kind of like situation there. And yeah, like I mean, one thing I think for the Flyers in this series too, like, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, throughout, but we talk about like the Hurricanes and the way they attack and things like that. The Flyers really like, intentionality. Like I like to say, like intentionality with the puck is really, really like essential in a series like this.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're going to do with it before you get it, because you take the half second to hesitate with it or reload with it, they're gonna be on your ass. Like, and like credit to them. I mean, they've done this too, like without Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, and Seth Jarvis are their top line. They haven't even really produced in this playoff yet.
It's
It's
crazy.
been Stankov and Blake in the Hall line, the second line, that's been
Yeah.
tearing everybody up. And
Hmm.
they tear the Flyers up in that game too, in game
I
one.
mean,
So,
the fact that they jumped on them the way that they did,
yeah.
getting that goal a minute and a half in, like it was, and it was just an onslaught, and they never let them come up for air. They never let them breathe.
Yeah.
It was relentless, and that's the way that they play. And listen, I was texting in the with Rich and Joe and Jason
Mhm.
and like they're a team that's got what, like 8 years of playoff experience. They've been battling. Carolina's been battling Florida to get that spot in the Stanley
Mhm.
Cup. Um, they're playoff tested. They've got like they are a team in a different echelon, and you can see that like they've got 8 years of playoff experience. You're a team that's just made the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. Um, talk to me about some of the guys that you were impressed with, because right, the scoring wasn't overwhelmingly in any direction. Right, they had what, 14 guys score 16 goals.
Mhm.
Um, you saw a lot of production from the young guys. We saw the benching of Mitchkov right later in the series, for obvious reasons. I think it was great that you saw a little bit of a recovery. We'll put it in air quotes. When he does come back to play. Um, and right, really impressive stuff with Porter Martone, but like you saw really good stuff from, Couturier has kind of had this rebirth as this fourth line center. You know, Tyson Forrester was like a late trade addition. Kind of the way that that's been playing. Like they really had a lot of production across the board. I think the Flyers really missed Owen Tippett last night. Like, talk to me about some of those guys.
Yeah. I thought last night, even in a game where, it was hard to kind of find, you're kind of just flushing that one. But I kind of really, I thought Sean Couturier had played pretty well in that game.
So do I.
And he was like, while the Flyers as a group looked overwhelmed a bit in that game, I thought Couturier kind of looked as if he was, I don't know, like the pace didn't seem to really like affect Couturier. I thought Couturier played
Hmm.
in terms of like he skated like he could keep up with a series like that. In my
Yeah, I agree.
opinion, I thought like even though I didn't think he was particularly noticeable in like any other way, I thought like Konechny was late in the game there, getting a just kind of trying to like be productive in other ways, kind of drag them into the fight, so to speak. Like
A little bit.
he threw a big hit behind the net at the end of the game. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was a clean hit, and as the,
I
the
mean,
last
Mark, it was
seconds.
funny. We saw the refs kind of like just try to regulate that and just handing out the 10-minute misconducts and just sending them to the locker room.
Yeah, like they don't want like it was like that in the Penguins series, like where like I mean the officiating was all over the place in that series, but
For sure.
I thought like they've made like an extra effort, like at least in the Flyers series that they've played in,
Hmm.
where like the referees are making like this extra effort to make sure like these games don't like go off the rails, like in terms of
Sure.
like last night. Yeah, they were just like, all right, like yeah, we're just gonna start tossing guys, like
Right.
to just prevent like a line brawl breaking out or whatever. But
Yeah.
like that stuff's gamesmanship. Like you try to like let them know that you're there. Like we're not going nowhere, kind of thing. Like we'll see you for game two.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
and
I think that's important though.
it
Like
is.
in a game where, I mean, I think it would be hard for them to argue that they didn't get like dominated in a lot of like pretty much every section of the game. You know, and the announcers kind of spoke to it a little bit that
Yeah,
like let them know you're there. Let them know
yeah,
you're not just you're not just here to hang out. Like you're gonna make them earn it.
yeah.
Um, for whatever that's
Especially
worth.
especially because too, like you mentioned, like Carolina and being a consistent playoff threat. I think a lot of people would consider them a contender for the cup. And I'm sure they're looking at this second round series, not maybe as a team, but like just the the kind of fan base, the noise around the team is like there is no Florida this year in the postseason. The team that's kind of
Yeah,
made their life miserable in the last couple years. They're not there, so maybe you're looking at it as like an opportunity, like a clear path to the Eastern Conference Final and or Cup.
right.
Like I said, I don't think Rod Brendamore or like they don't. They're not wired like that. I'm sure, like
No.
the team. I'm sure is not wired like that. But I do think like they're looking at it like, hey, there's an opportunity here
Yeah,
for us to kind of get there without Florida being there and kind of being an Achilles heel of theirs for a little while. So
for sure.
but yeah, I mean like that stuff, that other stuff we were talking about, that's gamesmanship and all, and that's a part of it. And it is important, to kind of just like let them know that they're in for a long series, that this isn't going to be like a cakewalk. And
Sure.
and yeah, like that's just competitive nature, like you're just trying to rally your guys too.
Hmm.
And so we'll see what game two brings Monday. But
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
curious. I'm curious to see what now that they'll have a day to recover, regroup, and what's the adaptation that they make to the game plan now that they've had a chance to see kind of what I think their Carolina is what it is, right? There is no there's not going to be some surprise game plan that Carolina is going to implement. I think that for what it's worth, Carolina knows that their talent level is in an echelon above, and the guys that are playing for the Flyers aren't necessarily on that level yet. I think they have a couple of guys that could get there, right? I think to say I'm impressed with Porter Martone since he's played 15 games, right?
yeah,
He plays a handful of games at the end of the season, and then it's just thrust right into an epic rivalry playoff series. Gets the couple of goals early. Um, that you see, you saw who was it? Rust. Rust was giving him a hard time, right? Pulling his hair, which is also weird. But
yeah,
like, you've seen him kind of navigate like this as a 19-year-old, like a vet, like a guy who's been around, which you know I think kind of gives the message to some of the younger guys, right? That and I think that's where Mitchkov comes in with like, because I think we all thought Mitchkov was going to come in and have that same type of effect, right? He had a
mhm,
really productive rookie year, not as much this year, right? Which is where, and I think me, and Mike were kind of all on the same page with him, getting dropped out of the lineup. But talk to me about what you've seen since that game, the game last night, and then the game six.
yeah. Like I think a lot of guys are looking. Like when we look at like the young players, like I think those guys are Porter Martone in particular has been like a fish to water to it, but the last handful of games, I think he's kind of seeing, the pace is kind of catching up to him a little bit. I've seen him
Mm-hmm.
overplay the puck a bit. I thought Alex Bump kind of struggled last night too.
A little bit.
Barkey, like these are all guys like the younger players. This is going to be like really like valuable for them if, of course, you can take it and you can take this experience and apply it to like your off
Yeah.
season regimen into next year, being like, okay, like I know kind of, I know this league better now, but they all kind of go through it,
Mm-hmm.
and they all kind of learn. It's all on the job training, right? Like, and even in like a player like Michkov's case, there's added things to that, right? There's the language barrier. There's the, getting acclimated to North America. We play a totally different game over here
For sure.
than they do in Russia. So, right down to the surfaces, like the ice surface is bigger over there. So there's more time to make plays and things like that. But I thought Michkov was really good. He's one of the reasons they made the playoffs. He had a really really strong post Olympic break. Out of the Olympic break, he was really good, and yeah, like he's now learning. That in the playoffs that there's an elevated. The pace ratchets up a notch, and
For sure.
so it's kind of all on the job training. I thought like a game under their belt now, they'll have a better idea for game two, what to expect from Carolina and stuff like that. Because as we said, like they don't change what they do. Like they play their way. They play a very specific way, and it doesn't matter who's in and out of lineup, whatever. Like that. That's just like Rob Brandamore kind of has that running like a well-oiled machine. So,
That's an
so
understatement. And Mark, I didn't realize he has spent a really long time in Carolina,
mhm,
almost to the point where he's got more of a history in Carolina than he does in Philadelphia.
mhm,
Like his numbers retired there. He went right from playing right into coaching. Has never really left Raleigh. Like he's more of a Carolina guy than a Flyers guy. If if
yeah,
I'm if I'm being honest, and I didn't realize all that. I heard someone talking about it, and I'm like, they're like, oh wait, no. When he got traded,
mhm.
that was one thing, right? But then like he stayed there, then his number gets retired there, and now he's built a perennial cup contender, and he's probably going to stay there until they kick him out the door.
Yeah, yeah. Rod's, I've said before, I think Rod's one of the best, if not the best coach in the league. I think he gets it. Like he gets younger. Like he gets like he knows how to like veteran guys respect him because they know what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Both as a coach and a player. Like I don't think that's always common. In the sense that like you see a player who was like a really great player in his day, like Rod, the captain of a cup winning team, in Carolina, right? Brought them their first cup in '06. And then to stay as a coach and to be like such a great coach. Like some guys they're either one or the other, right? Like
Yeah,
maybe they were not great players, but they turned out to be great coaches, or they were great players who aren't great coaches. So
for
it's
sure.
like, but Rod somehow like Rod's like both. And
It is. It is. It is odd, and it's a really unique circumstance.
yeah, and then like, he's in as good of shape today as he was when he played.
I
So if
mean,
you're a player on his team, it's like you're like, man,
you got
if
no
I ain't
excuse.
working it at least this hard, you know what I mean? I can't have this, I can't have this guy in his 50s looking better than me out here. Like, you know what I
Right?
mean?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah, I mean, I think he gets it. He really gets where the game is at today. and how it's evolved, and he really kind of they're really good at what they do. You know, the
Yeah,
Canes are really good at what they do. I can respect that. You know,
for sure.
and you know, like yeah. So I mean, Rod's been there a long time, and yeah, he's kind of made his home there now.
Yeah,
Like you said, he's kind of been more instrumental in Carolina Hurricanes hockey as he was in the Fly, which is crazy because he played here for so long.
right.
He played for the Flyers for so long. So
It's crazy.
yeah,
Listen, you just I just can't see any of his jerseys this week, right? Like
yeah,
the like just hold off. Hold off.
yeah.
There's a time. But it really is cool to see this kind of reignite this fan base. It was kind of like always like smoldering, right? And it is kind of weird to look back at like it wasn't that long ago when there was a game in like the middle of March where they're getting blown out by the Rangers.
Mhm.
And if you had told me on that day that this is where we'd be, I mean, thank God for Wisconsin ice hockey. Appreciate the win. Two things I want to run by. One, uh, around the NHL a little bit, right? You saw the Ducks take out the Oilers and McDavid's, right? So you're going to see a completely different, Stanley Cup Finals. Um, they're going to take on Vegas. You got a really epic series with Minnesota and Colorado kicking off tonight, and then obviously we're waiting on Carolina and Montreal to finish up Game 7.
Yeah. Um, I'm really interested to see the Tampa Montreal series. How that finishes up.
Yeah,
I think Montreal's got like a really good young group, and regardless of what happens in this game 7, like they're gonna be around. Like
yeah.
they're not going anywhere. Tampa's still very very good. So we'll see how that plays out. I was impressed and really somewhat surprised that Minnesota took out Dallas in round one. And, like, what are you doing today,
Mike,
Mike? Mike's been drinking this morning? I don't know what's going on with this guy.
Mike, what's in the coffee this morning?
Alcohol.
A little too much Bailey's in the coffee cup.
Yeah,
Jeez.
right.
Oh my goodness. Um,
Keeping PG here.
but yeah, but like I think the Colorado Minnesota series is going to be a really epic one. I think you know to kind of to see. I really would love to see Vegas take out the Ducks and kind of send Cutter Gauthier home. That would be really really epic. The Flyers hockey makes them unhinged. Listen, Mike, we're kind of here for it. It's all unhinged, right? And to kind of piggyback off the drinking, um, Mark, I'm going to run something by it because I think we got to workshop something that the Flyers need to kind of piggyback off of.
Hmm.
We've seen two really epic beer vessels in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Sabres have instituted the Sabre, the that's hollow and full of beer,
Yes.
which is wild but really cool. And then either yesterday or the night before, we saw Carolina was going to debut the hockey skate mug,
Yeah.
which I was like, these two things are absolutely epic. And what's the Flyers version of that? Because
Yeah.
you can't
Like,
do either one now. Because if
yeah.
you do
No.
either one, like obviously you're not going to do the Saber one, but like
Right. Yeah. That's
it's
a good question.
like
I'm trying to think.
I know a gritty one is kind of like the easy go to, but
Hmm.
like I gotta workshop a creative some creative licensing on that to you know
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're really cool. The skate mug is really cool and has a handle on it too. So it's like very like easy to like hold and then of course like for the saber you get your bang for your buck with the big long you know what I mean? Like so really cool ideas. But I don't know for the Flyers, like what the Flyers could do to top that.
Mark, that might have to be an AI thing.
Yeah,
I might have to workshop some
yeah,
alternatives to that, because that was I saw that. That's just cool, and those are
yeah,
just like cool souvenir things that like, and it's cool to see the teams embrace that, right? Because Buffalo is a really starved fan base that has been kind of waiting for this opportunity, and they're really good. Um, and it seems like they might be destined for a matchup with Carolina. But
hmm,
we'll see how this season. We'll see how this playoff matchup plays out with the Flyers. I'm curious to see um, how they come out in Game 2, and I'm
yes,
really hoping that like they come out with a little bit more of a fight. And I think the key for me going into Game 2 is the first goal. If you can get the first goal, they have not in this entire playoff run in these first 5 games have ever played from behind. They've
yeah,
led every minute of every game.
yeah. It's pretty crazy, and then you factor in the fact that the Flyers haven't scored a first period goal in this entire playoff. Uh,
Really bad combo.
yeah, that's a bad mix there. But yeah, like I mean, at any point, whether it's in the second period, whatever, if you can get through the first period scoreless or whatever, like scoring first, I think it would be huge. I mean, like the Flyers too have played from, and we've talked about this, I think, throughout this year. But like, I mean, they've played from behind so often, like like I don't know how many, like the numbers are really lopsided. How many times the Flyers have yielded the first goal in a game,
Right.
and just on the season. So that's really tough, and it's tough to play like that, especially in the playoffs, especially against a team like Carolina. So yeah, like I mean, scoring first would be huge in a series with this team
For
because
sure.
they're going to be really really tough to beat anyway. So let alone when you're down by two or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
Well, listen, Mark, we'll see what happens in on Monday night. We got another double triple header on Monday night with the sports team. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, on the other side of this, we'll be talking all things Sixers, because the Sixers are moving on to the second round because they took out the Celtics. Go Flyers!
We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
You're listening to Drunk on Broad, Philly Sports Unfiltered! From Broad Street down to the bank, we bleed red, green, black, blue, and gray. Racial classes, game day pride, Philly's hardware, drunk on the ride. The Elliott flying on at night, six stars lights up, the sky's so bright. Flyers crash like thunder on the ice. Philly swinging, everything's nice. Union chanting, passion loud and raw. City of grit, we break every law. Uptown, drunk on broad. No, we don't sleep. City of champions, running deep. For another round, let's make it loud. Feel it forever. We're Broad Street proud. Drunk on Broad. Yeah, we're home. Drunk on Broad.
Well, Mark, The days of the Boston Strangler have been avenged. The Sixers took out the Celtics in a playoff series for the first time since I was two. Um, that was one of the most epic performances by a team that I think I've seen in a long time. And Mark, you'll appreciate this. The photo that is now my screensaver
Hmm.
is the photo of Jason Tatum holding up the three on the court with Joel Embiid in the blurry background.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the one. That's one of those ones where you're like, put it in the Louvre because it was, yeah. The to see the way that this team battled back, and this is a team, Mark, another team, right? That like, so glad that I was wrong because we wrote this team off. Could not figure. We were perplexed at some point in the season trying to figure out like, all right, what do we even talk about?
Yeah.
Because we knew that they were we knew that they were going to be in the playoffs. There really wasn't a way that they wouldn't make the playoffs, but like, what would they do? How, they end up in the playoff game playing Orlando. The chance of we want Boston at the end of that game. And the best one of the best parts about last night was seeing Joe Mazzulla at the stand, and them asking like, "What's the biggest thing that changed?" And it was a big guy, right? Getting Embiid back, Embiid coming back, what, little under 3 weeks left, or 3 weeks out from the appendectomy surgery. He gets an organ removed, comes back and just dominates a playoff series, right? And you saw this was a more this was a different level of Joel that I saw in Game 7 last night, where he was cerebral, right? He was making passes where he would normally take shots, getting guys the ball in space, really taking on that role of like when I need to turn it on and when I don't, but still having that troll out like in there a little bit with the quiet in the crowd at certain times. And it was it was really, really epic to see, and then to see the performances from VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. Yeah, Maxey, the handful of times where I think 3 or 4 times I thought that like Joel was going to be out of the game because people kept running into his knee, and he's hobbling along, and then the next defensive play, he's diving out of bounds trying to save the ball. But like on the offensive end, Maxey's taken over when he needed to take over at the end of the game, being a closer. Mark, the amount of stat tweets that I have bookmarked here is going to be. I think at some point I might need to just like purge them and just kind of like divulge them. But like, what an epic performance from that team last night that pretty much everybody had written off. I think that the betting line for the Celtics was like minus 2,500
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
going
that's
into that series.
not surprising either. Like the Sixers, kind of like you said, we were kind of struggling for talking points because we knew how it was going to go, and then to get Boston in round one, you're like, oh, all right. Then the way the series starts, and we're like, oh, that's pretty much on par for the course here, and then like last night was very much an Embiid legacy game and stuff, and I know people are gonna throw cold water on that, and they didn't have Tatum, and it was whatever, but
You play
you
who
know
you play.
yeah, you play who you play, and I don't think we can ever. People still will who don't follow the Sixers as closely, but
Sure.
you can't question Joel's toughness anymore, like, or his willingness or to think that he's like some kind of like me first player or something. Like, this guy cares deeply about winning. I
Uh-huh.
think the way he the way he showed up last night, right? Boston decided to go with, which I think was really surprising for a lot of people. They went super small with their lineup. Jaylen Brown was guarding Joel, which was my favorite part of the entire
That was great. That was a
game.
great that was a great exchange of them going. Kind of it was like those two stars were going to just battle.
Yeah, and Joel, like, my favorite part of it was, I think at the free throw line, he's pointing at the blocks and like, come see me. Like, I'm gonna be down here. I'm gonna be down here every time, and like,
Yeah, and to, to Brown's credit, right, there were a couple times where he met him at the rim,
yeah,
which was
yeah,
a
he did.
cool kind of battle. Those two battled in a way that I don't know that Embiid and Tatum would have.
Yeah, and it was funny because too, like on the broadcast, like I actually really enjoy. I know people were like kind of complaining about him online. I saw a little bit, but I actually really enjoy Reggie Miller as like the color guy for the
Yeah,
lot of the
I don't
national
mind him at
games.
all.
Yeah, I like Reggie, and you could like Reggie, who was like an ultimate ultra competitor. You know what I mean when he played,
I
and
mean that whole exchange in the garden.
yeah, and he was what's his name? You could hear in his voice he was loving it. He was loving watching them go back and forth and talk
Oh
trash
yeah,
and stuff like that. Like he wanted to get out there and start playing. Like you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and
It was very late '90s NBA,
it
right? You had
was.
two stars on the court on a game seven. He's got the one, and they're just kind of jawing back and forth. And I think anybody, Mark, that wants to give Embiid crap right now is they're just not willing to look at the reality and just kind of wanting to always look at like what the negative is. And that
Right.
for me is like when you talk about the game the other night that like they trailed by one going into the fourth quarter and they end up losing by or they end up winning by 16. Like
Hmm.
he plays super well in that game. Like the fact that you saw a little bit of that, Mark, in the Olympics, right? He was
Hmm.
kind of like laying in the weeds, and then the game comes up with Serbia, right? And he takes over. He just does what he needs to do, right? And
Hmm.
like you saw a little bit of that, glimpses of that with like the behind the back passes, right? And then that kind of branches off into other guys, right? The whole the the epic behind the back pass from Paul George to VJ Edgecombe for the dunk with the Flyers sitting in the front row, like and them
Yeah.
going like going crazy, like it everybody kind of feeds off him.
Yeah. And yeah, he's been great. He was great last night. I also thought too, like we were talking about the Brown Embiid matchup on like when he was on the block and he had his back to the basket. Like there's a couple of times too that I thought were key. He created for other guys too,
Very much so.
and was able to pass out of those plays. There was one where it was a maxi three. He kicks it out to VJ swing catch and shoot for Maxi beyond the arc, and he hits it. It was like, I mean, like Boston didn't have any answers defensively for that, because he's a
Yep.
handful down low. You don't trust any of your bigs to
Yeah.
guard him, but then like the ones that are playing, Kada, I mean Garza got a little bit of Joel in that game. Like, it's a mismatch. So,
Right.
they're going to run into foul trouble right away. So it's like they really didn't have much of a choice, especially because they didn't have as well like they weren't able to run their offense probably the way they would have with the wings. But even then, in this series, even when Tatum was playing, and I texted you about this during the game, but like super impressed with Paul George. I've given him a ton of flack since he's been here.
Yeah.
He had a great series.
It's the
He
Paul
was
George we thought we were getting.
Yes, and he was exactly what they needed on the wing to take one of those matchups. And
Mm-hmm.
Kelly got the other one, and they did it by committee. And it was like that's what they were going to have to do to kind of like prolong this series. And he was great. He was great in every aspect. I thought he played well defensively. He created for other guys. He got himself.
Yeah.
He got his own shots. So he was really really good. And I was actually my cousin and I were we were texting, and he joked that the suspension had revitalized PG, and I
Listen,
said like,
he got a little bit of a respite, right? And now he's all ramped up and ready to go. It really is like it. We talked about it all year long, right? Never seeing this group of players play together, right?
mm,
And you're really seeing what we thought we would see from this group. They just never have had the opportunity to play together, and right. And now, Mark, when you're not seeing an extended bench, right? When you're not seeing, you know, the 7, 8, 9, 10 guys in the lineup, right? I think there was one game, I think they only played 6 guys. 5, they
mhm,
might have played 7. But like you're seeing the stars play, right? And you're seeing, and Andre Drummond 2.0 is probably just as good as Andre Drummond 1.0 on the Sixers, right? He has consistently been the best backup for Embiid that they've ever brought in, whether it's
mhm.
draft or free agency.
Also
But like,
also done
yeah,
Andre Drummond, uh, corner specialist, corner three
yo,
specialist.
he's got that down. Oh,
Oh
Mark,
my
where did I
god!
where did I hear this? And I want to give credit to whoever put it out there, but I don't know where I saw it. But like, is he a better? He's a better 3-point shooter than Ben Simmons ever was.
Yes, yeah. I
Right? Like,
mean,
how crazy is that? A guy who
unbelievable.
was as and Mark, here's the I'm going to talk about this for 10 seconds. Some of the clips in my Facebook memories of him in the playoffs have started to pop up in
Uh,
like the last month and a half. I need a 30 for 30 on him.
yeah,
Him and Wentz. I was telling Rich, like a year ago, like I need the 30 for 30. Um and like false messiahs is the title.
yeah,
And I need someone to do a deep dive. But back to Embiid, right? Here's one stat for you. First player in NBA history to score 100 plus points in a playoff series, despite missing the first 3 games.
that's incredible.
Right? Like him and Maxi together. They're the third duo in NBA history to have 25, 10, and 5 in a game 7. The only other the only other two to do it, Elgin Baylor and Jerry West in 63,
Oh my
and
god!
Elgin Baylor and Wilt Chamberlain in 1970.
Wow.
Right? Be in that company.
Yeah, yeah, and too, like to hear them talk too after the game, and to see them together, and how they kind of like everybody kind of feeds off each other. Like PG's like actually like in a odd way, like kind of like I don't know if they've said that or not. I know obviously Maxi and VJ are pretty tight, but VJ and PG seem very tight too,
Mm-hmm.
and and like everybody's there to win, and there's no ego with the group, especially for we look at obviously Joel's a star, but Maxi, for him to like take his game to the next level,
Yeah,
from like all star level player to like now like an all NBA player, that's a major step.
that's a huge step.
Yeah, and really kind of like just like too, and I mean there were moments where like just it was beautiful like to watch Maxi and Embiid run the pick and roll out top, and
Oh my
like
god.
it like I don't know how you stop it, and
Well, that Mark and like to navigate, like you go into the fourth quarter, what are they up 16, 18 going
mhm.
into the fourth quarter, right? And Boston goes on a run. And inevitably, everybody sitting in the Delaware Valley was like, here we go. Right? You saw the run coming. They get within 2. I don't remember if they got within 1, if they tied it up, but it was a lot closer than I think anybody really wanted it to be. Like they
Mhm.
if they had played even average, I think that game is, you kind of like you walk away with that game. Um, but they navigated it, right? They let them get within 1 or 2, and then they kind of pour it on late, right? You saw Maxi kind of be the closer. They had a really really impressive defensive stops to kind of prevent Boston from taking the lead. And it just seemed like, Mark, that Boston's plan for most of the series was like, let's see how many threes we can chuck up.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that to me was like the game plan. Like they really, once Embiid came back, they never pivoted, right? And Boston was what, 32-0 going into the series with a 3-1 lead.
Mm.
The Sixers were 0-18 going into, when trailing, 3-1 in a series. Like, it's just, this team never, like, for all the crap that everybody gave them, they just never they never they never they never played like they were out of it. And I think the addition of getting, like, obviously getting Joel Embiid back kind of puts everybody in, it puts all the puzzle pieces in the right spots.
Yeah. Yeah, it really did. And yeah, and I mean, like, to drop a player of Embiid's caliber into a series like that, I mean, it had the recipe for it to play out the way that it did. Because just like it's not the same thing, no matter how many times you play the team or you see the guys, like to drop them in, like everything slows down. You saw, like, in the playoffs in the NBA, it's like the half court offenses become a lot more prevalent
Yeah,
in the it's a lot less it's a lot less free flowing.
for
Like
sure.
you get down to 5 minutes, and it's like now, like the half court offenses really start to, you
Right.
know, start to ratchet up there. But yeah, Boston. I mean, like, I mean, at the same time, I mean, like, with what we're talking about with Joel and all the numbers you just mentioned, it's like, what do you do? But like, they've kind of lived and died by that all year.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I was reading before this game seven. They said, like, once there was like the questionable tag on Tatum, everybody, like, I saw people saying, well, they're just gonna chuck up. Everybody's just gonna shoot a bunch of threes now
Yeah.
anyway, because apparently they had been doing that the whole year without him.
Hmm. Yeah.
But Boston looks like to me, like, I feel like they're kind of missing a piece here. Like, I don't know if it's another big. I kind of like their depth, and Tatum and Brown are obviously excellent, but there's something missing with that group, I think,
Yeah.
and I'm not,
For
I can't
sure.
really put my finger on what it is, but yeah, like they absolutely, like, they're gonna shoot you to death with it,
Uh-huh.
and they're gonna either beat you like that or they're gonna lose like that,
Yeah.
and
And right,
that's
like,
what happened.
right, like last night you had three guys. Now this is apparently the first time that this has ever happened in a playoff game. But they had three starters that didn't score a point.
Oh wow, yeah,
Garza, Shireman, and Harper Jr. never, like, didn't score a point.
wow,
Like,
yeah,
that's like obviously, like, and you had a couple of guys step up, but like, there's, you can't have that lack of production from from, 3/5 of your starting lineup, and think that that's gonna, you're going to be able to survive, right? And
yeah,
especially when you're getting the variety of production that you're getting, right? When you're getting when you look at VJ Edgecombe, right? He is another guy, right? In the same way, in a different light, kind of like, you know, from what we've seen from some of these young guys on the Flyers, right? You see Edgecombe with a lot of production, right? Like, he's the youngest guard in NBA history to score 20 plus points in a game seven.
yeah,
Like, he did not look phased
no,
at all. Like,
no,
he looked like he belonged, right? And he's also right, and he's not just scoring points, right? He's got 5 plus rebounds, right? He's got 5 plus threes, right? Just the moment has never been too big for him. Which, I know he finished third in the rookie of the year, but like, to be able to contribute on a team the way that he has and to really kind of slide into that role kind of really seamlessly is what put the Sixers in a position to be the first number 7 seed to beat a number 2 seed since 2003.
Yeah, yeah. He was. It's rare. Like I mean, like the Sixers, as painful as last year was, that's like one of those things where, which we had experienced it all throughout the process years and stuff, and never really seeing the fruits of that labor.
Right.
But like it was, Sixer fans deserve, the Sixers as an organization deserved to catch a break like that, where like you actually you have a poor season, and it's somehow not somehow, but it's, you look back on it and it was all worth it because
Right.
you got this player out of it in VJ who's like really like going to be like a foundational guy.
For sure.
And to come in as young as they do now, and like for him to come into a team that was really kind of like a hodgepodge of guys, and
Right.
and we didn't really know how it was going to work out. And to come in like with the mentality of like, hey, like I'm here to do whatever you need me to do, and I just want to win. And for him to do that and fit in seamlessly with Maxi, and allow George, allow PG and Joel to get their sea legs for the season here. And even the job, I mean, like, I didn't think the Sixers bench was very, very good last night. If they would have, God forbid, they would have lost that game, that bench would have got destroyed. I mean, they end up with 3 points or whatever off the bench. Like,
Yeah.
if they would have lost that game, oh God, like, you
Yeah, for
know.
sure.
But I thought Nick Nurse coached a good series too, and he's caught some flack.
He really did, man.
And he's another one, like you mentioned about the 7 guys or whatever. He was doing, that's how he coaches. He did that in Toronto too when they won their
He
title.
really he
They
did.
won with like 7 guys. They won the title with like 7 guys. Just ran 7 guys. So
Mark, we've seen stranger things happen, right? Because now, right, that I gotta give credit to the Sixers admin, or whoever in charge of their social team, but like the picture that they posted with Joel, kind of like with that like half face grin with the side by side screenshot of all of the predictions
yeah.
from everybody, and not a single one picked the Sixers, and rightfully so, right? It was not logical at the start of this series
Hmm.
for the Sixers to be considered. Hence the reason why the betting odds were so epically on the one side. And God bless whoever put any kind of financial support at the beginning of that series, because I'm sure they went to bed really happy cashing that ticket. Um, but like you look ahead to this series, right? They're going to match up with the Knicks. I love Joel at the podium last night, and I'm trying to pull up the video, but like the audio is kind of funky. Um, but like pleading with the fans to like not sell the tickets, make sure you're
Yeah.
down there. We're going to need your support. And I love the fact that at the end he's like, if you need money, I got you. That like that's such a Joel thing for him to do, to like to say that. And
Yeah.
but like it wouldn't surprise me if like he actually meant it.
Yeah. Yeah, right, really. Yeah. He's the type too. Like that would he absolutely would mean that. He's
Talk to
right
me
though.
about going,
Like
yeah,
he's right though. I mean, like we got to make this a hostile environment.
for sure.
Like for this series, and especially with New York and New Yorkers, and like, but I can't wait to see like this group on that stage at MSG. That's going to be a blast to start this series. And I hope they bring that same energy. I hope Joel brings that same energy that he had you know, uh, with Jalen Brown, and brings that into this series with New York. New York's a good team too. They're a very good team, good basketball team. I've said before on this show that I absolutely just despise watching Jalen Brunson play with the contact.
The bump and run coverage.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate watching a guy play
It's
like
so
that,
annoying.
and it just feels like so like I don't want to go off on a tangent again on this
Oh,
again,
good.
but like I just
It's
like
just you and me, Mark.
yeah, like just he's initiating all the contact every time.
Yeah,
How can you call foul? Like I just like I don't get that in terms of like how you can like create space between someone, stop short on them like that without there being like I mean like he's waiting for you or he's not even maybe waiting for you as much as he is jumping into you, jumping back into
yeah,
you. And it's like it's an awkward thing because you
yeah,
can't like there's really nothing you can do about it.
yeah.
So
You can't have negative momentum and start
right.
and it it's quote unquote within the rules, right? But
Yeah.
it really is like a way to manipulate the contact
Yeah.
to engage. And that's where I would tell you like that's where they have to be on guard defensively, right? To
Right.
be able to because I do like if this team is healthy. I like the way that they match up.
Yes.
And I think, Embiid has played really, really well whenever he's gone up against Carl Anthony Towns. I think he's had an opportunity to really, get Towns in the block and played really well whenever he's matched up against them. Um, if Paul George and VJ Edgecombe play the way that they've played, um, the Knicks are going to come at you in waves, right? Having Bridges and having Josh Hart and having Ananobi and having Jalen Brunson, and you're going to bring Mitchell Robinson, and you've got a couple of guys coming off the bench. I mean, I'm looking at their roster right now, Mark. They got our old friend Landry Shamet hanging out at the end of that bench. But they're going to come at you in waves, and I think this is going to be another really epic um, rivalry series.
Yeah.
But I think they
And
definitely the opportunity is going to be there, Mark. This is an opportunity for them to really avenge um, some demons, right? For them to be able to play well enough to get out of this second round and play in the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a really long time. And I gotta love that Sam Hinkie chimed in on the Twitter machine last night.
yeah. Yeah, it is. It is, and it's going to be I'm expecting a long series here,
Yeah, for sure.
with New York, and but yeah, man, like I really hope it's hostile down
So
there
do
when
I.
they come back to Philly. Uh, because it's just like it's Boston and it's the Celtics and the Sixers have had like such a storied history with them. It's like it's Philly and New York too. So it's like
Most
make that a
definitely.
make that a tough environment for them to come play in. And like if you like listen, if you claim Nova first, stay away from the building. All right, like I don't care.
Yeah, I don't want to see any Villanova jerseys down there.
Yeah, like
No
Brunson,
Villanova
Hart,
fans this
whoever.
week.
Yeah.
Like and it is really like an epic sports time right now to have both of these winter teams having their seasons bleed into the spring. Um, I mean, Mark, it's given us a respite from talking about anything, Eagles mini camp, rookie mini camp, the Phillies debacle, even though they've
Oh.
been playing okay better. But like it having these two teams be quote unquote back
Hmm.
is it feels really good.
It
And it
does.
feels good to have them back in the mix. Um, and when you look around, right, like that Magic's Pistons series is going to be, playing. They're going to play Game 7 today. The Raptors Cavs series is playing a Game 7 today. So whoever's waiting for them in the Eastern Conference Finals, um, they're going to have a shot. So
Hmm.
they're going to have to. I think the biggest key for me is Game 1, getting on them early and really making them sweat. And if you can get Game 1 in Madison Square Garden, get them on their heels. I think that's if you steal at least 1 or 2 up there coming home tied 1-1 or maybe up 2-0, really gives them an opportunity to put a stranglehold on the series early.
Yeah, I would love to. I would consider it a success to come home 1-1,
For sure.
and know that and feel comfortable about where you are. Yeah, and those two game sevens today. If there's like you said, I mean, stranger things have happened. If there's another upset in one of these game sevens, it's kind of open. I mean, we've been saying all year that the East is wide open, and it has been.
Mm-hmm.
Although, like, Detroit had a fantastic season. Cleveland is Cleveland's a very good group too. But I mean, we've been talking about the East being wide open, and then it's like if one of these higher seeds end up getting knocked out, then it's really wide open. You
Well, and
know?
Mark, talk about Orlando, right?
Yeah.
that epic debacle, right? Being up so big at home, right? And then I heard someone talking about they went 45 minutes of like actual time between buckets,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to give up
Almost.
that lead at home in a clinching game.
Yeah. That I mean, like, that'll be if they lose this series, that's going to be just. I mean, that one's going to be a nightmare to look back on.
To be honest, Mark, though, I would love to have that clip of Tobias Harris. Right, remember that game late in the season where
Yep.
they're getting their licks in, right?
Mhm.
And Tobias is giving the fans a mouthful talking about have fun in the playing game.
Yeah.
How epic would it be to be able to play that clip over and over again, and just tag him in any way possible?
Yeah.
If Orlando somehow figures out a way to go into Detroit, which I've been really impressed with Orlando,
Mhm.
but them going into Detroit and taking them out.
Yeah. And I remember at the very beginning coming into this season when we were talking about everybody. Remember, Orlando was a very trendy pick. The kind of
For sure.
the regular season had not gone the way that they had hoped. But I mean, again, like kind of like the Sixers, maybe it comes together in the playoffs and
Yeah.
something just kind of clicks. But yeah, I mean, like that would be amazing if we could run that Harris clip over and over. The only thing that would be better, I think, would be if we could get to the Eastern Conference Final, we could see them there. And we got
Yeah.
something, play-in game, we got something for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen. I'm here for it all, Mark. Anything you want to run by before we jump out of here?
No, I don't think so. It's been, playoff basketball is just, it's something I think we both are into and would watch anyway. But like you said, to have the Sixers a part of it, and I did not expect, much like we've said about the Flyers on the Flyers show in the beginning. I did not expect to be here in mid-May, going into mid-May, and talking about playoff series. I am so grateful though that we are,
For
and
sure.
it makes it a lot of fun. It makes it feel like they're a lot closer, to getting over the hump and competing for a title someday or whatever the case is. If you're there and you're in the playoffs, you're there to compete for it. Whether you're, no matter what the odds are, no matter what we do when we talk about analysis and breaking everything down and all, it's like when the games start, you're here to win it. No, you're not here
For
just to
sure.
just to have a good time. You know what I mean? Oh, we're just happy to be here. No, you're here to win. I'm
Right.
here. You know what I mean? Like, so
And and I think hearing that from Embiid at the podium last night makes me
yeah,
feel good going in, and the fact that he's got a grudge with Cat, Yeah, he's always got a bone to pick with him. I think it's going to
Mhm.
be this series is going to be chippy. It's going to be I think a little bit of what you saw at the end of the Flyers game last night. I think you're going to get a lot of that from this series, and I think because they're a team that they battle with throughout the season, and to know that they've had some experience, playoff experience playing in the Garden, to me is going to be to their advantage as this series kind of progresses.
Yeah.
Mark, before we jump out, I got to ask you about your hat.
Oh, the hat.
The hat.
So
What is the hat?
this is the Reading Phillies
Okay.
specialty hat. They play a annual morning game, and
Okay.
they're gonna rebrand the team if it hasn't happened already. They rebrand the team the Reading Ice Coffees, and this hat was
Okay.
actually the story behind the hat is it was a birthday gift for my wife,
Nice.
and my birthday's in March. It
Okay.
just got here last week due to like the amount of orders that the team got for the hat. So when I saw that they were coming out with these and they were going to change the uniforms for a day, I was like, I need that. I need that
That's
hat.
fabulous. I love it. I love it. All right, brother. Well, listen, on the way out, go Sixers.
Sixers.